Welcome to the Newsmaker Show. You know, I mentioned a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I don't know, that the Republican Party was getting so much like the Democrats in the sense that they're both just parties in power, the political class, that I was looking around for a party that really represented the way I believe and the way I don't like the term feel, but the way I feel about things. And I found it in the Constitution Party, founded by Howard Phillips, the late Howard Phillips. I had the pleasure of interviewing him a couple times, and he made a lot of sense. So now there's a party called the Constitution Party, and in fact, it's, I think, going to be on the ballot in New York. But we're going to talk today about what the Constitution Party is all about. And I think a lot of people out there who are conservative will say, hey, that sounds more like what I believe than what some of the establishment Republicans believe. So stay tuned. I think you'll find this informative.
It's time for the Newsmaker Show on News Talk AM 1480 WLEA. Here's Kevin Torres.
Okay, good morning and welcome to the Newsmaker Show. Donna Mulvhill is representing the Constitution Party on our program today. She lives in Honeoye. Donna, welcome to our program.
Hi, Kevin. Nice to talk to you.
Well, are you on a landline, dear?
I am. Can you hear me on this phone now, or should I put the speaker on back the way it was?
No. Keep it the way it is. I just don't. The speaker sometimes can cause problems. All right, now listen, Donna. Let's suppose that you bump into somebody on the street and you say, you know, I'm quite taken with the Constitution Party. And they say, well, what is the Constitution Party all about? What would you say to them?
Well, the purpose of the Constitution Party is to secure the blessings of liberty that we have been given in the Constitution that we should be standing on in the United States. This is the paramount law. And the Constitution Party has the ideals that the message is basically we are not going to let the government usurp those rights which this country was founded on. And we are seeing that on so many different levels. And unfortunately, like you said, even in the Republican Party now, there's not the respect for the Constitution as there should be. And our rights are being now taken away on all different levels, as we know, especially here in New York. So the Constitutional Party comes against that. And our hope is to, again, establish the foundational rights of each individual as the Constitution clearly outlines.
You know, Donna, it sounds a lot like, although it's not a political party, the movement known as the Tea Party. Would that be a correct assumption on my part?
There is so much similar to the Tea Party. However, with this party, the focus is the Constitution, not so much the taxes, even though we are for lower taxes, and that's a big part of this party's support. But we come in on the Constitution being the foundation. And that, again, the Tea Party, we're all friends here. We're all fighting the same fight. But the Tea Party has their platform is lowering taxes, where our party is the Constitution. However, lowering taxes is a part of the Constitution, as we know when we read into it. So we believe that, again, we should have our state rights back in order. The federal government should have less power. So we stand on the same principles as the Tea Party. However, our starting point is different. We start from the Constitution, where we feel like we are given that right to, that is where, as Americans, that's what the president puts his hands to say he will uphold the Constitution. So
I think he crossed his fingers, though. At least this guy did.
Yeah, I think he might have, because it seems to be, he's not having a problem to break that commitment here, as we see.
All right, Donna, let's go down through some of the issues of the day and see where the Constitution Party would come down. Let's start with the one that never goes away, as much as they want it to go away, and that is the abortion issue. Where does the Constitution Party stand on that?
Okay, the Constitution Party believes that all human beings, from conception to natural death, are valid in the eyes of God, because we are a Christian group, too. We always take that step. We believe that that's also our foundation, where the Constitution has been from. We believe that life starts at conception. We're against abortion. We are absolutely against the funding of abortion facilities like Planned Parenthood, and therefore we take that stance on every situation where protection of the unborn is of utmost importance to our party.
Okay, so you obviously are pro-life,
Pro-life.
and in the culture wars, and I have no trouble saying this, I think this is what it is, the culture of death versus the culture of life, and you have people who are pushing not just abortion, but now euthanasia, and we even have some professors of a liberal bent saying after the child is born, if we don't like what we see, we have every right to destroy the child, which is what they did in ancient Rome. Okay, so you people are strictly pro-life. Okay, let's move on to another issue. You mentioned taxes. You're against higher taxes.
Yes.
Now, interestingly, the federal government had to shut down because of weather, 20 times this year, and everything went along. I know because I have friends of mine who work in the government in Washington. They'll be the first one to tell you, hey, we don't go to work. Everything still functions. And yet we have this massive bureaucracy getting bigger all the time. How do you stand on that, on the size of the central government?
Yes. We are for state rights, and with the 10th Amendment, we believe that there's a very limited amount of power that should be given to the federal government. And we, of course, see that completely collapsed for over decades now, where the federal government is controlling more and more of the state interests, where we should have, especially education here in New York with Common Core, things of that matter. And so you see this on so many, but we're 10th Amendment supporters. We believe the separation, where we believe that the federal government has limited powers and the state should make decisions individually. Even when it comes to same-sex marriage, we believe that should still stay within the state decision, and many different, whatever branches from the state. We believe within the state would be the best deciding factor for issues because it's localized and you can understand the issue of each type of region, which of course we know is different. Idaho is different than New York City, and New York. And so we have different districts make decisions, and that keeps things more balanced, we believe. And then, of course, it doesn't have this overarching large power of the federal government.
Okay, Donna, not everyone, and I'm not talking down to anybody, but not everyone truly understands the 10th Amendment. But that was one of the things that the Founding Fathers insisted on, or they weren't going to approve the Constitution. So run that 10th Amendment by us.
Okay, and there I am going to quick. I did go to a law school with, but I want to have it completely in front of me here. Well, basically, that is the separation of the federal government, where you will have rights within the state. There's very limited where you can use, as far as national security would be one issue that is permitted by the Constitution, and it's a very limited power that we give to the federal government, and therefore, again, you will have to look into that. Personally, I'm pulling it up right now so I don't misquote it.
Well, I can tell you what it is in a nutshell, and we can have the direct quote if you find it, but it says that all powers not named as given to the federal government remain with, and this is an interesting part, the state and the people. Maybe the state doesn't even have the power to do certain things, right? We've come a long way at taking away the powers of the state, and they did it, you correct me if I'm wrong, they did it through money. The feds said, yeah, you guys can have your own state and you can do what you want, but we won't give you any money if you do. So a lot of them caved in. Isn't that about what happened?
That is what about happened, and I'm reading it verbatim here. It's the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. So
right.
Exactly.
People, that's key. The people may not want to give that power even to the local government, let alone the state, right?
Absolutely.
We're so far away from all of that. I want to address that later. Is it possible to bring it all back, the Constitution, which was a marvelous idea and worked so well for so long? But before we do that, let's take the issue of national health care under, well, we call it Obamacare. And he said he's proud to have it called Obamacare, so that's not a slam. Obamacare, what would the Constitution Party say about that?
We're absolutely opposed to Obamacare. We do not believe that health care is a right of every individual that should be paid by the taxes of American citizens. We believe that it should stay private, as it has done successfully. And as you look around to any socialized medicine where we see Canada or other countries where they have implemented this years ago, there's not a success to this. So we're very disappointed with the decision of John Roberts, obviously. Oh. And as you said before, is there a way to turn around the ship? That's where we're still hoping that maybe if we keep growing in numbers of at least understanding this Constitution, there'll be more of an outcry, and therefore maybe things will be repealed still, and we have hope. But Obamacare is a great disappointment.
Okay, we're going to take a break. I'm talking with Donna Mulvhill of Honeoye, and she is telling us what the Constitution Party stands for. I recently signed up with the Constitution Party because I think they're closer to anything, to what I believe in than any other party, including the Republicans. We'll be back in just a moment. Okay, for those of you just popping in, we have Donna Mulvhill with us. She's in Honeoye, up near Rochester. I think that's in Ontario County, right?
That is, Kevin.
Okay. You're right on the lake there, Donna?
We're overlooking the lake on the west side. It's a beautiful lake, smaller than the other three larger Finger Lakes, but a beautiful place to live.
Yeah, well, especially if you're overlooking it. Now, we're talking about what the Constitution Party stands for. I've already made one convert to the Constitution Party, a dissatisfied Republican, dissatisfied by Boehner and his ilk, who claim to be constitutional type people, but in fact, they're professional politicians. And what we really have is in Washington, and I think in the state side, on the sides of the various states, what we really have is a political class. Some call themselves Democrats, some call themselves Republicans. One calls himself a socialist, the guy up in Vermont. But they're all really part of the governing political class. So you've got a really big uphill fight. And one of the areas where I think you could get some support if you hurry is freedom of religion, which is being attacked in our country as it never has been in the past. Talk to me about that.
Absolutely, especially here in New York. I mean, we're finding more and more out where different groups, homeschool groups, are being targeted now, where if they're teaching their children their religious doctrine, the schools are challenging that. There's so many different ways now where the religious right that we were given is now being twisted by these people who claim there's a separation of state and church, and therefore there should be not even a mention of God in any public arena at all. And of course we know from history that's untrue. Thomas Jefferson didn't make that statement about church and state separation to cause that type of secularization. And so it's you know, in every way. You cannot have the Ten Commandments in certain places. They're trying to strip anything that says God, the Pledge of Allegiance, which we believe in the Constitutional Party, God is our foundation. We believe that's where we have been blessed in America by coming in with that wisdom and living a certain lifestyle in accordance to how the Bible has requested us to do. And so we find that now how sad to flip this upside down and mock everything that Christianity represents or other religions. You know, most have certain moral guidelines. And now this secularization in schools and public places is trying to block any of that, which, of course, we know where that will all lead as we watch histories of other countries and when atheism takes over, such as the Soviet Union, how it unraveled this nation where there was no hope and eventually despair and merciless killing because there's no respect for human life. So we don't want to go in that direction. So, of course, for this party, our stand is that every person should have religious freedom, whatever that choice shall be.
Okay, now, you probably know this, but in case you don't, the Obama administration has come out with a new coin, a new dollar coin.
Yes.
And guess what's missing from that coin that you'll find in every other coin?
Yes, and the In God We Trust.
In God We Trust was taken off under the orders of the Obama administration. And we've got 3 more years of this guy. And if Hillary gets elected, we've got 3 plus at least 4, maybe 8. But on the other hand, do we trust the Republicans to do the right thing? What do you think?
Well, if I had to vote between the two...
Yeah, it's a lesser of two evils, right?
I would choose the lesser of two evils because I think they have some respect. It's not completely... but again, they follow certain principles, and unfortunately, as we're watching, it's unraveling, and we're going further and further away from the protection of rights, freedoms, and this is they seem to have all united in this purpose, from Obamacare to other different bills that are coming through, and more. Recently, I heard about now with the eminent domain, they're starting to really push for that to go into another level where we're just losing our rights here in America. And New York is the 49th worst state for personal freedom, so we'll feel it first. But
what's the worst state, by the way?
I believe it's Maryland, but I think after this year with the governor's new policies, we might have passed them, and we might be 50th as far as after the SAFE Act has passed. And we here at the Constitutional Party, of course, are absolutely opposed to the SAFE Act. So that also shows where we're heading on every level. There's no respect, but the governor has no problem deregulating abortion, but he has a problem with, I guess, any other thing deregulating, and now with the guns he wants to regulate and now stand and step all over the Second Amendment, which is upsetting a lot of people, of course, too. And we take the stand, of course, that that's the Second Amendment right, and this nation is built on that right. We have the right to bear arms, and therefore do not mess with that right. We have that right to stay intact, and we should be able to keep that right. There's no change in population shouldn't change that right, or whatever their excuses are, or sad events that are not related to gun owners that are part of the NRA, but just people who somehow get their hands on guns, most of the time illegal. Then we're going to use that as a way to block people's rights to have their own gun or what type of gun they choose to have. So we are absolutely opposed to the SAFE Act and hope that the next governor, whoever that shall be, shall overturn and repeal that. And
hey, I got some bad news for you. The next governor is going to be Andrew Cuomo.
Well, we're praying not. The Republican Party doesn't look too bad, and he would fight that. But I know it's a difficult state. So, but we do have hope. We also pray. So we do know he has, I think, $33 million, but it's not only money that will set him apart. So, but like you said, the polls don't look so great, but we do still have hope in New York that something will change. So we can.
Now, are you going to be? I think you told me, and I think I repeated what you said. Constitution Party will be on the ballot in November, huh?
We're working out the details right now, but we are just to get the voice out and stand tall because we don't have interest groups to please, and so therefore we can say whatever we feel in defense of the constitutional rights of every New Yorker. So we are going to step into more and more political battles, and hopefully more people will be able to join this party and take a stand on a more stronger platform when it comes to constitutional rights. And again, it's a great thing to not have any interest groups who will be battling for you to be their puppets. This party specifically is for the people and for defending the rights of every American.
Okay, listen, our time is gone. People that want to know more about the Constitution Party, I'm sure you've got a website. Not everyone's got access to a computer, so how do people find out more if they don't have a computer?
Yes, and I'm quick pulling it up because as I'm sitting here, okay, well, the best way to get to it would be the www.cpofnewyork.com. And we have, if you put in your Google Constitutional Party of New York, you'll come in through that door. And we have a Facebook, and it's, again, the Constitutional Party of New York, and you could like that. We have updates. We're starting to get more interactive and update more frequently. But that's a great place to start off and just get involved.
Now, you said Constitutional Party. Don't you really mean Constitution Party?
Constitution Party, yeah.
Yeah, okay, because that's two different words, right? Okay.
Yes, Constitution Party of New York.
All right, good. Listen, our time has gone down. Thank you so much for shedding some light on this party founded by Howard Phillips.
Thank you, Kevin, for having us.
My pleasure. Okay. Howard Phillips, by the way, was a very, very bright guy. He was a Republican. He worked very hard for the election of Republicans, but then began to realize, I had him on the air some years ago, began to realize that these guys are in it for power too. And while they are the lesser of two evils, they're not necessarily a good. Now, that's the downside of the Republican Party, but as I told Heinemann here a few days ago, he's an establishment Republican, I said, I went to the Lincoln Day dinner in Hornell, and I'm going to tell you, those Republicans were of the Tea Party variety, and I challenged him, have a parade saying all the establishment Republicans will gather at what used to be Union Park, and we'll have a little rally. I said, there won't be anybody there. Establishment Republicans are in bad odor, just like the Democrats are, for many people who believe that our freedoms are very rapidly disappearing. If you don't think they are, folks, you're not paying attention. Did you hear this one? Some guy and his wife owned property. I'm not even sure what state it was. But they had a couple kids. They thought, wouldn't it be nice if we had a pond on our property? That's their property, right? So they made a pond. The EPA is fining that guy $75,000 a day while he has that pond. We've come a long way, baby. Patrick Henry and George Washington and Jimmy Madison and all those guys, they wouldn't believe what we have today. All right, all about a little lousy tea tax, too. Okay, stay tuned now for more news and information. Information.